What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nostalgic Gamers Club here online on the internet. Today, you guys, we're going to take a look at the video game Aggressive Inline, which came out for PS2, Gamecube, Xbox, and weirdly Game Boy Advance. I guess I shouldn't say weirdly. There were a lot of games around this time that did come out for Game Boy Advance that were just kind of these weird ports. I don't know. I feel like they were really pushing the GBA at the time, but that's another story for another day. Today, we're looking at the PS2 version. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the front and back cover. We're going to be looking at the instruction guide as well as the disc itself. Unfortunately for this one, I can't really show the gameplay. There was a lot of music in this that were some real bangers. We're going to get to that. But they were all copyrighted. All this music was copyrighted, and YouTube doesn't like copyrighted music being on their platform. So even the bit of gameplay that I did show up front, and a special shout out to 10min Gameplay on YouTube for recording that, he had the music turned off because otherwise it would get a copyright strike. So yeah, because of that, no real gameplay in this video, but we will be looking at all the box art and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's dive in. Aggressive Inline, if you're not familiar, not the game, the sport, I guess, the skater type activity was really popular around the time that skateboarding was kind of becoming on the popularity rise, probably around the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And obviously there was a lot of, skaters before then and after then. So I'm just saying, from what I remember, this was kind of the core time for this. I actually got really into aggressive inline skating because I sucked at skateboarding, honestly. And I was actually kind of decent at inline skating, so I chose this. It definitely never got to the popularity of skateboarding, and this game never got to the popularity of the Tony Hawk games. And this was interesting too because this game came out in 2002, and by this point, I'm pretty sure Tony Hawk's 1 through 3 was already out. So this idea of a skating game and kind of this, like punk culture, and, there's a great soundtrack, and it's just this sort of athletic game, but set in a universe where, physics isn't physics, and you can do some sort of crazy tricks. This wasn't a new idea. Aggressive Inline did do a few things that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater didn't at the time. I believe one of them that I was reading about was giving you basically an unlimited playtime if you want to set it up that way. So you're not just limited to whatever 2 minutes in a level. But taking a look at the box art here, we have a skater on the front here doing, I used to know what this trick was called, but I don't remember anymore. But he's doing a grind. It says Aggressive Inline. You just gotta love, I feel like there were so many games in the 90s that had this sort of, I don't know, this like blotchy, sort of distressed style to the font, developed by AKA Acclaim. And I'm just looking too, this guy's got the backwards hat. He's got the bracelets, the all black clothing. I mean, this guy's got it all. He's got it all, really. And one thing that I want to point out about the cover is there's this kind of blue splatter going over here. And if you follow it around, it kind of goes all the way around to the back cover where you can see that it's some graffiti, which is kind of cool. So the whole background of this is just a graffitied wall. Down here, we see we have 1 to 2 players. It takes up 490 kilobytes for a save, which is so small. Digital control, analog control, and of course, vibration function. This game was rated T for teen for blood, strong language, and suggestive themes. Whoa, baby. So on the back cover here, it says, Aggressive Inline, skate the edge of sanity. I don't know about all that. I'm going to try not to butcher some of these names, but it says, featuring today's top skaters, skate as Jaren Grob, Tig Chris, Ido Yasudiko, Frankie Morales, Matt Lindenmuth, Shane Yost, Sven Bookhurst, Sam Fogarty, Matt Salerno, or Chris Edwards. Incredible soundtrack from bands such as Hoobastank. Was the reason in this? Hold on, I don't remember. I gotta look this up. Crawling in the Dark by Hoobastank. Can you imagine skating to The Reason? I'm not a perfect skater. So stupid. Okay, incredible soundtrack from such bands as Hoobastank, Black Sheep, Far Side, Real Big Fish, Sublime, and more. At the time, also, I was a huge Real Big Fish fan, so that was also a big pull for me with this game. More grinds, manuals, and big air tricks than any other game. 9 huge environments with level-altering cinematics. Punish your friends with split-screen multiplayer and build the ultimate skate park. And honestly, all of the images on the backside here are just skaters. We have mostly male skaters. There's one female skater. Unfortunately for the time, this was very common that, like, of course, the one female skater is in just very skimpy, like, schoolgirl attire. But I think that's how they thought they could sell games at the time. I also love that in this photo, you can see sparks coming off of this guy's grind. Like, he's really grinding. That might be the guy from the cover in different garb. So opening this up, oh, okay, it's upside down. Of course, we have the disc itself, which honestly is, just pretty kind of cut and dry. This one's actually in really good condition, especially for such an old game at this point. But it just has the title, Aggressive Inline. There's that graffiti wall in the background again. Maybe a different graffiti wall, kind of hard to tell. But we're really here for the instruction manual, if I can get it out. There we go. So same artwork as the front cover. We have our contents, all the warnings as we typically do. They do have, I think this is so funny because it doesn't say what these buttons do on this page. It just says, here are the buttons, and these are the buttons that exist on your PS2. They have a little introduction page here where you're just kind of seeing what the different modes are, how to enter in some cheats if you've unlocked any cheats. But it does say, warning, by inputting a cheat, your player will be branded a cheater. Now we get into the actual controls of the game. And this was kind of complex. I mean, there's, this one's saying action button situational. There's sharp turn right, spin right, if in air. So you really did have to learn a lot for this game, as you kind of did with any of these style games. I remember with Tony Hawk, even you'd have to really memorize a lot of different button combinations, and that's how you actually were able to rack up the higher scores. It goes over the different types of tricks that you can do. The action button, again, that's conditional. That's situational right there. Grinding was a big part of this game, from what I remember. Oh, and there it says right at the top. Again, I'm going through this with you guys. And it says, grinding is a huge part of AKA Aggressive Inline. You can grind on practically any ledge. A grind is performed by jumping up onto a ledge, pressing and releasing the X button to jump, or skating over an edge and then holding the triangle button plus a directional control. So the different directional controls here, you'll see you can do a front side grind, soul grind. I'm going to skip that one because it's YouTube. The Mizu grind, Royale, fast slide, backslide, fish brain. I mean, there's so many different types of grinds you can do in this game. Double grinds, which you have to do 2 inputs for. This was a lot to remember. I feel like you would have to really have a good grasp on this if you were going to do these consistently. They did have some attributes that you could, level up, gain XP in, and increase your player's stats. And that just kind of goes over that there. Now, here are the levels. So we have our tutorial level. Level 1 is movie lot. Level 2 is civic center, industrial plant, boardwalk, tuna cannery, airfield, and museum. And honestly, I remember playing the movie lot the most. It was the first level. I just got very comfortable with it. And I also was really into movies at the time. I mean, still am, but at the time, that was when I was getting into movies. So it was cool to be, kind of playing on this movie back lot. Then it goes into our challenges and how to do those, our different icons. I like how there are these icons and then it says special trick and it's just a photo of a dude. What if that guy's not even a skater? This part goes over the juice meter and it says when the juice meter is full, you're on fire and flames will fly from your skates. Hell yeah. It goes over how the game scores, the different displays on screen. We start to get into the different game modes here. So there's obviously career, free skate, timed run, multiplayer. And this was cool too, because multiplayer was obviously a thing before this, but having a multiplayer skating game like this was a ton of fun. And they had a lot of fun different modes within that multiplayer menu. They have some gameplay tips here. And then we're getting into the park editor, which has a few pages dedicated to it because this was a big part of this game was to be able to create and edit your own parks. I'm not going to go over all of this in depth, but you can see here that there are just a ton of different tricks that you can pull off, including all of their different button combinations. They then go into the skater gallery here. Look at Matt Lindenmuth. He's what a cheeky little guy. Okay, so that other guy was a skater. That was Shane Yost. Just more of those skaters here as we go on. We have an ad back here for K2, which was a skate manufacturer at the time. My skates were K2 skates. A little section for notes, which sadly is empty. I never took any notes in this game. And then on the back cover, you know, at this point, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I love the back cover because there's usually other ads. So this says, look for Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. And I was playing the Dave Mirra games as well. There were a lot of these sort of action sports games at the time. And then we can see a few screenshots from that game up there as well. A few things that I wanted to note about Aggressive Inline is that it actually got some pretty good reviews for a game that was directly competing with the Tony Hawk franchise. I mean, we're looking at 8s and 9s. IGN even gave it a 9.5 out of 10, pretty much across the board. The lowest score that I can find for the PS2 version was from Electronic Gaming Monthly, and that was an 8.33 out of 10. Now, the Game Boy Advance version did have some lower scores, pretty much across the board. That one was getting closer to 6s and 7s across the board instead of the 8s and 9s that the main game was. And honestly, from what I'm seeing here, and I don't remember this as a kid, I don't remember hearing this from any of my buddies, but it seems like the GameCube version might have been the way to go. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases, the GameCube version has a higher score than the Xbox and PS2 version. Why? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was just the controls were a little different. Maybe the load times were a little bit better. Who knows? I'm sure somebody knows, but not me. Remember, I just love these games. I'm not an expert. And with that, you guys, we are wrapping up another episode of the Nostalgic Gamers Club. I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And make sure you leave a comment below letting me know which game I should cover next, because if I have it in my library, I'll cover it. I'll do it. And if I don't have it, chances are I'll probably buy it, honestly. It just gives me an excuse to keep collecting old games. And there's nothing wrong with that. You go out there and you collect to your heart's content. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you a ton, and I will see you next week. Peace.